demystifying HR. So that is the topic for today. And in this, I'm going to talk about the 5 myths that surround HR as a function and try to demystify it to the fullest. And this is one thing which has actually come to me so much in the last 1 month or couple of months from so many students, a lot of young students who've taken up a career in HR, that we hear so many things where people tease us. People really tell us that why have you really taken up HR as a function? HR is not as important as sales or marketing or operations or other areas. So can you really help us understand how this function is really important? And there are so many jokes which get cracked around HR as a function. A lot of people say it's a function which doesn't really add value, deals with the world of intangibles and so on. So this message is for all the friends who ask this question, and also for the people who believe that HR is a function which has certain myths, and we will talk about those 5 myths and try and demystify that today. So let's start with the first one. First myth. HR is a very non-technical function and it does not have a seat in the boardroom, or is not as strong as compared to other functions like sales, marketing and operations. This is a very common myth, and I remember when I was doing my planning to pursue my MBA, a lot of people discouraged me that why do you want to make a career in HR? HR is not really a sustainable job. In fact, you should look for a career in sales, marketing, operations, or look for something which is more in the core of the business. Now my answer to that is that HR is a function that deals with people, and anybody who says that HR is a very easy or a very non-technical function is actually brings a big smile on my face, because dealing with people itself is so much of complexity. It's a lot of complexity. A person A behaves in a certain way, person B behaves in a certain way, person C behaves in a very different way, and you're actually dealing with a set of people in the organization around certain processes that you want to put in place, and those processes can be technical or non-technical. So technical in this context could be if you're dealing with functions like compensation within HR, purely technical. There would be a lot of work which will be non-technical. So it's a good mix of both technical and non-technical when you talk about HR. And coming to the second point on the place in the boardroom, let me tell you that most of the organizations who truly really have been able to value the whole process of being very careful in terms of managing their people in the organization, or putting the right processes, or are truly great places to work, are the ones which attract people to work for them. And why do they do that? Is because they invest a lot in people, and that investment in people is the core of most of those strong companies who exist today. And how does that happen? That happens because you have very, very strong people practices. And who gets those people practices? Those people practices come from the senior leadership and the HR leadership combined together, who make that happen. So if you're telling me that HR does not have a seat in the boardroom, the answer is obviously it has a very important and a very critical role to play in the boardroom, because everything that happens in the organization will not be done by robots. It will be done by human beings, and that can only happen if you have the right people processes. So it is a very, very strategic function. You can check out some of the videos where I did about the role of HR function in some of my previous videos. That will give you an understanding of what I'm talking, and it deals with all people processes, and anything to do with people is the core of the business and is actually something which gets you a seat on the boardroom, in the boardroom. Very, very important. Second myth which I keep hearing from a lot of people is that HR is a non-technical function. Yes, to a large extent you can say that some elements of HR are non-technical, but there are technical aspects as well, and I did mention about compensation here. And let me give a very interesting data point that this is coming from most of the campus recruitments or summer internship or my interaction with various B schools I mentor, and the students I've been in touch with. There is a large percentage of engineers who have taken up HR as a career. So how do you beat that, right? So those are technical people getting into HR. So obviously there is clearly something interesting about HR which makes it the place to be. And if you ask them these questions, it very much, the function has so many elements. It has got so many elements that, you can use your technical skills in different areas of HR. If you are high on analytics, you can be a part of HR analytics. If you are high on, you like number crunching, you like data, you can get into compensation. If you like the behavioral side of it, You can get into training and development. You can get into recruitment, right? So there's so many areas that you can work on when you talk about HR. It's not about, it's not a non-technical function, in its true sense. And it does attract a lot of technical people to take up careers. People switch careers to move into HR. So there is something special about it for sure. The third one which I keep hearing, the third myth which I keep hearing a lot from a lot of people these days is a very common a definition, which is around, is HR a function that is only there to make rangolis in an office celebration, or HR is the only function which does Diwali celebration, organizes employee picnics and does all kinds of events. It's an event management role. Certainly not. That is a very, very critical part of the role, and we are nowhere trying to demean by saying that making rangoli is an art, by the way, and HR is both art and science. So making rangoli, of course, it's one aspect of the celebration or the events that happen, but one needs to understand that there is a lot to it in the function beyond all these activities which we just talked about. It can range starting from the entire employee life cycle, from the point of employee getting hired in the company, from the point of attraction to the point of continuing in the company and then probably leaving the company at some point. So think about any process, any people process which is in the employee life cycle, which can start from attracting talent, recruitment, selection, training, performance management, organization development, talent management. We can go on and on. There are tons and tons of processes and so many laws, employment laws, practices involved all around the whole piece. So this makes it a very, very compelling function with so many aspects where you can have a long-term career. So certainly not. I mean, event management and those elements are part of it, but a lot of companies are today outsourcing that. HR doesn't really lead that directly. In smaller setups probably yes, but a lot of companies outsource it today. So definitely not, HR is definitely not restricted to picnics, rangolis and organizing functions, so events. So that myth needs to be busted in this video. The third piece, or the fourth piece rather, which I keep hearing, the fourth myth which I keep hearing is the role of HR leader or the role of HR function is to keep each and every employee happy. The answer is no. The answer to this is the job of HR person or the HR leader is to make sure each and every employee is engaged. I think that is the word that we need to use here. And when I say that is, happiness is a state of mind. Happiness is truly a state of mind. I'll give you a very small example. If you are getting an increment of 20% in a COVID situation, that's a huge increment. People are giving salary cuts. People are not giving increments. If you get an increase of 20%, you will be on top of the tree, on top of the world. You will say, wow, I've got a wonderful experience and wonderful increment. I'm extremely happy. But the moment you get to know that my colleague who sits right next to me has got a 20.5% increase, you will be immediately dissatisfied, right? Though the right thing has happened, both have got huge increments, but the person got a slightly higher one, you get dissatisfied, you get unhappy. That is happiness and unhappiness. It's a state of mind. Engagement is about, is the company doing everything possible in the current scenario, given the current situation of COVID, where companies are not really, where they are taking tough calls, the company is doing the right thing. Company is trying to make sure that, they are giving you increment in that period. That to me is a big practice towards engagement. So that is really, that is something which will drive engagement with the people. To make sure you work with the right leaders in the company who inspire you, to make sure you are fairly paid in the company, not necessarily paid the highest. That is not the job. The idea is to give you the right salary so that it's not high, it's not low, it's the right salary. Giving you the right work environment, providing you the right organization culture, right? So these are some of the elements which are very, very important part of the role of HR. The idea is not to keep each and everybody happy. I think that's a myth. Nobody can make sure that 100% of the people are in the organization are happy, and companies do run culture surveys and engagement surveys to track that, but then of course the idea is to drive more engagement, because when you are more engaged, you sell more cases in the market, you do better sales, people are contributing to their highest productivity, and results are there on the ground. So this is actually a very interesting one of the myths which I keep hearing. Now the last one, which I also hear a lot, and this is one thing which I keep hearing a lot of times, is that if HR is in the room with the employee, that means I'm getting fired. Or most of the time, HR is seen as a function which is actually a mouthpiece of the management, and is actually talking about whatever management decision is there, they are there to convey to the people. Partly yes, partly no, right? So again, I would like to say it's a myth, because HR does a lot of things other than firing. Firing is just one situation, and it's gaining more prominence today because a lot of companies have to take those tough calls to make sure that the business survives. But in reality, the real situation is that HR is a function which actually will make sure that both the management and the employee interests are balanced, because end of the day, the objective is to run the business, and the idea is not to be unfair to employees. So if it is about making sure that employees are paid fairly, HR will have that representation. HR will make sure that that representation happens in the boardroom, and you are paying as per the market. If there is a policy which is coming into play where you need to be making sure how your competition is doing and doing it the right way for the people, keeping the people's interest in mind, this is something which is so important, this is so very critical, and HR will make sure that it happens. So HR success, or the biggest myth is HR is seen as a function which is tilted towards management. I would say it's a function which knows very well on when to balance things out, and a lot of times there are management decisions, a lot of times there are people decisions. So you, depending on the situation, you take those calls and you balance it out. So this is it actually, right? So this is it, and these are some of the myths which I keep hearing. So I thought, let me keep it short and simple today, and try and talk about some of those myths, demystify some of those myths, and I hope I've been able to do that. I would love to hear your feedback on this one, and if there are any other questions, I would certainly want to capture that. So if you're liking these videos, please subscribe to my channel, HR Shorts with Atulya. I think it's been a great journey so far with all of you. Thanks for all the love and affection and the likes and the subscriptions you've done. I think now we are almost 315 subscriber old now. So look forward to even more engagements with all of you. Have a great day and have a great evening on this Saturday. Stay safe, stay healthy. Thank you so much.